Hi, this is Tutor Nick P, and this is lesson 196. Today, we're going to look at the difference between modest and humble. Yeah, this is one that comes up where students say, well, what's the difference? Because they do seem similar. Let's look at the definition here first. A person who is modest does not like to brag about their successes, achievements, etc., even though they are worthy of doing so. Yeah, I tend to think of a modest person, usually they tend to be more quiet. Maybe they're uncomfortable talking about themselves, or maybe they're uncomfortable talking about their successes or something like that. I don't think that they necessarily think that they are inferior or below. So let's look at the definition for humble. A person who is humble is not proud and does not believe they are better than others. Even though, to be honest, I would be a little careful with this. If a humble person says it and they actually mean what they say, that is true. But sometimes people just act humble when they're not really completely humble. But we'll get to that later. All right, let's continue here with the note. When people are humble, they often say things to lower their status or standing. They will often say they are not special or even inferior in some way or below in some way. This is one thing about humble. So humble people often say things to lower themselves. Modest may not actually be saying anything to lower themselves. They tend to be just more quiet. Many people probably know about that person's achievements. Maybe other people told them, and so in that way, he kind of gets credit. Or maybe a modest person may say, "Oh well, I don't know, not that big a deal," but he won't go on about it, and he won't usually lower his status that much. All right, let's go on. So they often say special art. We often use the word humble in phrases like, "in my humble opinion." Yeah, this is a common one, and very clearly you are kind of lowering your status. If you say, "in my humble opinion," you're basically saying that you're not really an expert at this, and perhaps you're not really even qualified to give your opinion, but you're going to give your opinion anyway. So first, you're bringing yourself down. That's what we mean when people that are humble tend to do that. Or welcome to my humble abode. Yes, well, sometimes it's actually meant sarcastically or in humor, but if you really mean it the real way, it means that your house is not so special, it's not so fancy, but welcome anyway. But it's not that beautiful. Sorry, I'm not richer and have a nice, more expensive, beautiful house for you to stay in. So that's what it kind of means. Again, you're lowering your status. All right, this is something else to really note here. In Asian society, being humble is often considered a good quality. For example, I remember an old story where a Korean man invites a Westerner to his home, but he added that his wife was not so beautiful and her cooking was not so good. So come, even though, but I'm sorry, my wife's not so beautiful and her cooking is not so good. I don't know if you did this in the West, a Westerner, the husband might get in trouble if the wife found out about that. But this sometimes this is in sort of Asian culture. It might be in Korea, it might be in Japan, it might be in China, where this sort of idea comes through. Of course, when the Westerner arrived at the house, the Korean man's wife was very beautiful, and her cooking was very delicious. So now, if the and I think in this story the Westerner did compliment the Korean man. "Oh, what are you talking about? Your wife is beautiful. The cooking is good." And if they do this, actually, in Asian society, this is a good way that the host will gain face. By saying that, "Oh, wow, she's really. What are you talking about? You're crazy." So it's kind of a way of setting up a compliment, and it's kind of a way of yeah, basically doing it that way. All right, and the other one that I always remember there was an old movie in the 1990s called The Joy Luck Club, about the lives of four Asian women. But I remember there was one scene where there was uh, one of the Asian girls. She invites her Western boyfriend home, and she tried to prepare him. She tried to tell him a lot of stuff of what he should do and what he shouldn't do, and she thought she prepared him well. But you can't say everything. It's hard to let everybody know everything about a culture in an hour or something like that, for trying to prepare them. But when he arrived at the house, and of course it was also, during the meal, the mother comes out, and the mother also, to be honest, I think in this case she was actually acting humble. I think she knew that this dish that she made was very delicious, and a lot of people have complimented her before. But when she's serving the dish out there, in front of the Westerner, she said, "Oh, but my cooking is really not so good, and it's not good. But you please try it." Now, of course, the Western boyfriend, who really was a nice guy in the movie, but he didn't know. He actually took her at her word. He really thought that that's what she meant, and he says, "Oh no, it's not bad. It just needs some ketchup," and he threw ketchup all over it, and all the other guests were like, because they knew that that's not what he was supposed to do. It was almost kind of insulting her. He was supposed to taste it and again say, "Oh, what are you talking about? This is the best dish like this I've ever had. This is so good." And then, of course, she would gain face. So, so this is what I'm saying. Sometimes when people are humble, I don't know, maybe some people are actually truly humble, really have that opinion. Sometimes people just act humble. So, and again, when you are humble, usually you will say things to lower your status. And modest, they don't tend, they don't brag, but they don't tend to talk about themselves. They usually feel kind of uncomfortable talking about their accomplishments or bragging about themselves. Okay, anyway, I hope you got it. I hope it's clear. Thank you for your time. Bye bye.